Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MTG Place podcast. I'm your host, Corey, and with me, like always, is James. How's it going, James?
I'm doing all right over here. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Been playing a lot of Vintage Cube, along with Josh has too, so we're going to have a lot of videos coming over to YouTube of that as we edit them.
Cool stuff. Yeah, I heard you were doing some stuff with him. Always fun. Did a little bit of that not that long ago as well at his place, so that was fun as well. So
yeah, and then Thursday, I'm going to be doing early access for Wilds of Eldraine.
Cool. Oh, okay. Fam.
So I'll be
recording
that and posting that up on YouTube. So it'll probably be, it'll be up that night, Thursday night for sure. So you guys can watch it before you go into your pre-releases and stuff.
Right.
But today we're doing the set review so you can know the rares and mythics before you go into the pre-release.
Yep.
Mostly from a commander standpoint, but if something seems like a huge bomb unlimited, we'll probably point that out too.
Yep. If anything is maybe modern worthy or something like that, yeah, we'll definitely let you know.
All right, but before we get into the review, we just want to say a couple ways you can support us. One is directly over on Patreon. You can find that link in our show notes and in our Discord, or just going to patreon.com/mtgplace. Get all sorts of cool perks, and you can play Magic with us. You can get all my draft decks that I win with, stuff like that. The way you can support is just free. Just go over to YouTube and hit subscribe if you're not, and tell people about our podcast. Check us out, follow us on Spotify, all that.
Yep, the more interaction we get, the more views our stuff gets, and the more wider of an audience we get, and we appreciate any help with that. All right, so we have a new set to talk about. We have Wilds of Eldraine, yes?
Yeah, before we get into the cards, there's a few new mechanics in this set. There's a few returning as well. So returning, we got Adventure mechanic.
Yep, just like the last one.
Yeah, so you go on an adventure, and then if you did the adventure, you can cast it from exile on the other part. The thing they did this time is they kind of, before all the adventures, I think were all same color. Now the adventures can be different color than the actual card. Food tokens are back.
Yep.
Obviously. And then the new thing that's a little weird is there's like role tokens, which are basically like enchant auras that you could put on a creature, but you can only have one. So it's like a token aura, and it's called a role. And it enchants a creature, either yours or your opponent's. So if it enchants your opponent's, it's like usually a bad thing. If it's yours, it's usually a good thing. And then when you put a different roll on it, the other one falls off.
Okay. So that kind of was like what was it? Was it Streets of New Capenna that had like the backgrounds or whatever it was? I know that was a set like recently that had something kind of similar to that. So yeah. It'd be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And I don't know how much in the base set they'll use the rolls, but there's a whole like commander deck built around it, one of the two precons.
Of course.
So we'll cover the commander cards in a different episode. This episode is the main set, the rares and mythics, and Wooburg Order.
All right, starting with white, of course. Our first white rare is Archon of the Wild Rose. It is 2 white for a 4/4 Archon creature with flying. Other creatures you control that are enchanted by auras you control have base power and toughness 4/4 and also have flying.
Yeah, so
it's a nice little enchantment card.
So if you have enchantments on your creatures, or in this case, if you have rolls on them, it's going to make them all 4/4s with flying. So this seems okay. An enchantment deck.
Yeah, like it does cost 4.
Yeah,
so you're basically getting what you're getting. But if you have plenty of enchantments, then it pays off.
Yeah, or if you have like a bunch of 1/1s you're enchanting, I guess.
Yeah. So it could be good in the right kind of deck, especially it's white, so white likes small, wide decks. So
4 for flyer is okay too. So
yeah, just on its own.
Stats.
It's like a Sarah Angel.
Next up is is happening here?
Got an issue?
Yes. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Why?
Pause
Right.
the recording.
No, it works. It's okay. So, A Tale for the Ages. Enchanted creatures you control get +2/+2. It's 1 and a white for an enchantment.
Okay, so like extra buffs for enchanted creatures. That's kind of cool. Again, with the enchantment tribal here.
All right, what's the next card?
All right, everything good? Okay.
Hmm?
Next up is Expel the Interlopers. It is 3 white for a sorcery. Choose a number between 0 and 10. Destroy all creatures with power greater than or equal to the chosen number.
Interesting.
So, yeah, almost like an engineered explosives, but with power instead of CMC.
Yeah, except for you pick when you just pay the 5. Whereas I think you had to have the same number of counters, right?
Yeah. Because they're putting right.
But yeah, so it's like, if it's like, okay, I have all 2 power creatures. Well, everything 3 and greater is blown up.
Yep.
Seems good in like a token deck.
Yeah, definitely. Or against a token deck.
Yeah,
just wipe them all out. Just pay 0.
I mean, like if you choose 0, it's just the Wrath of God for 5. Like,
yeah, for sure. Which is okay. I mean, yeah, so you're paying 1 extra, but
or if someone has something really big, you can just choose like your biggest thing, and then all of their stuff dies, and yours doesn't.
Right, you're going against dragons or something. That could be good as well. Yep.
It's a pretty good board wipe.
Yeah, not bad.
Next up, we got Heartflame Duelist, which is an adventure creature. So the creature part is 1 and a white for a human knight 3/1, and it gives instant and sorcery spells you control have lifelink. Now the adventure part is 2 and a red for a Heartflame Slash, which is an instant to go on adventure. And Heartflame Slash deals 3 damage to any target. So it's a 3 mana bolt that then for 2 mana gets you a 3/1 creature that gives instant and sorcery spells lifelink.
Interesting.
Yes, like if you bolt them after this is in play, you would gain the 3 life.
Right. Yeah. So it turns it into like a helix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an interesting mechanic. It's white, so life gain loves. A little Boros action if you want to.
Yeah, this is a weird one because the adventure is more. Like a lot of times the adventures were less in the last time around. So this time, like I feel like I would just jam out the 3/1 first. But if I had like 2 of these in my deck, I would probably play the 3/1 first, and then the next time hit 3, gain 3.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's a pretty good synergy if you have multiple. I mean, it is only a 3/1, so it is pretty weak, but you're only paying 2 for it, so that's not too bad.
I mean, 2 mana 3/1's like a basic, common creature. So
yeah.
But the fact that it gives your instant sorceries lifelink buffs it up a little bit, and then the fact that you can get extra value from the adventure side if you do that first.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's got some decent value to it for sure.
So it's definitely got some versatility.
Playable and definitely playable, like in for sure in standard. Otherwise, there might be a commander deck that could use this for sure. Next we have Lady of Laughter. It is 3 white for a fairy noble creature with flying. It's a 4/5. Then it has Celebration, which is at the beginning of your end step. If 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card.
2 or more non-land permanents.
So you'd have to be playing a lot of stuff in a turn.
Or like a deck that makes a bunch of tokens at once.
Yeah, or tokens, yeah. Because it is enter, so tokens would work. So that wouldn't be too bad.
That's interesting. I mean, it basically rewards you for double spelling with permanents.
Yeah.
So it's similar to the other double spells. I mean, it's pretty good. It's white card draw, and white needs more.
Yeah, white needs card draw. So yeah, it's not bad.
And it's a 4/5 with flying.
Yeah, I mean, base stats are not bad. Like that's pretty good. That's like basically a Sarah Angel for 5. Yeah. So yeah, it has a pretty decent effect if you build the deck around it. You definitely have to kind of have
Yeah,
a
you
little
need
bit
to
of stuff.
somehow have a way of having 2 things enter. I mean, or just like 2
Yeah.
cheap creatures to go boom boom.
Yeah, which that's easy enough to do as well if you have the right kind of deck.
Like in limited, this is probably going to be pretty good because most of your deck is creatures. So
Yeah, exactly. This is great for sealed.
next up, we got a Moonshaker Cavalry. So it's kind of like the other Cavaliers they had, but now they have a Cavalier. So it's 5 white, white, white. So this is 8 mana
It's a
for a
lot.
6/6 flying Spirit Knight. And when it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain flying and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So it's like the white Crater Hoof.
Yeah, it's like a white hoof basically. But they gain flying instead of trample. So that's
Yep.
kind of cool.
And they don't gain haste like they do with Hoof.
Yeah.
Or is it? Or maybe they don't.
Oh,
Hoof
it's just
has
trample with
haste.
hoof. Yeah, hoof has haste,
Gotcha.
but everything just gets
So
trampled.
this itself can't attack, but everything else can.
Yeah, so it's not as good in that regard, but as long as you have a board, like that could definitely do some damage.
Yeah, definitely could. This is great in the token deck again.
Yep, perfect for tokens. Honestly, would be a real good bomb and sealed. So yeah,
Yeah, you should put this in your token deck because you already run Crater Hoof. This is just like a
yeah,
second
this is
hoof,
like a secondary hoof basically.
I mean,
Yeah,
although they can block if they have a flyer, but like
if they have flying, which
yeah.
they don't always, so it's possible. All right, so yeah, that's pretty sick. Next up, we have Pollen Shield Hare. It is 1 and a white for a 2/2 creature that's a rabbit. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1. Then it also has an adventure spell on it, so it has a spell called Hare Rising that you can cast for 1 green. It's a sorcery. Target creature you control gains vigilance and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control.
So this is just like freaking busted in a token deck.
Yeah,
right?
that's insane. Yeah.
Like a 2 mana, like that's what Intangible Virtue is 2 mana.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is like a creature version of Intangible Virtue, and then the buff spell is equal number of creatures you control. So late game, if you draw it, it's like a really big pump spell for something.
Yeah. For 1.
For
I mean,
one,
granted, it's a sorcery, sure, but like, who cares? Like,
yeah, you just play it before you attack.
Combat, and then you just swing for like an ass ton. Like, yeah, they can't usually deal with that. Like, that's a bomb. That's a win con if you have a big enough field. Like,
yeah, this is
nice
really
card.
good for token decks. And I like that it's a rabbit, so it's called a hare, and then the thing is Hare Rising, like his hair is raising.
It's pretty great. I love the flavor is fantastic for sure.
They had to put puns in there, right?
Oh yeah, it's MTG. Of course they did.
Next up, we got the Regal Bunnycorn. It's 1 and a white for a rabbit unicorn. It's a star. Regal Bunnycorn's power and toughness are each equal to the number of non-land permanents you control.
Okay, so it's another either creatures or enchantments, or I guess planeswalkers.
Yeah, it's just equal to the stuff you have in play.
Pretty much anything.
So, like, worst case, it's 2 mana, 1/1, but it, probably going to be at least a 2/2 at some point, and then it's going to slowly grow as you play more.
I mean, if you play it on curve on turn 2, you'll probably, if it's in an aggro deck, you'll probably have something on turn 1 of some kind. So
yeah, like turn 1, play a 1-drop. Turn 2, play this. You have a 2/2. Turn 3, play a 3-drop. You have a 3/3 plus the other 2 things you play.
Yeah, like this can snowball pretty fast, honestly. Like, it's not bad. Like, if you can get it past the magical, 3 is kind of like the magical number in Magic. So, like, like Bolt and stuff like that.
Right, and
it's going to be pretty hard for them to deal with.
And then if you enchant this with something like +1/+1, then it's like, okay, now it's a 2/2 plus +1/+1.
And we've seen plenty of cards that buff stuff. So, yeah, this could get out of hand real fast. So, yeah, nice really powerful card.
This is a 2-drop. It's nice, cheap white creature.
Yeah, cheap 2-drop that can just crush things if it gets big. Next we got Spellbook Vendor. He is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human peasant creature with vigilance. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 1. When you do, create a sorcerer roll token attached to target creature you control. So that's if you control another role on it, put that one in the graveyard, and then it gets +1/+1. So it swaps the one that if you had one on it already.
Yeah, so the sorcerer role, it says at the bottom, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature attacks, scry 1.
Scry 1, yeah. Which, not bad. It's a nice little roll.
So 2 mana, 2/2 with vigilance. That every combat you can pay 1 to give one of your creatures +1/+1 when it attacks, scry 1.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's pretty cheap
good.
too.
I mean, until you run out of creatures to put the roll on, but
right, then it kind of. But at that point, it serves its purpose. So
yeah, I mean, if you put it on your cell on itself, it's basically a 3/3 for 3 with vigilance and attacks. When it attacks, you scry 1. Like that's pretty good by itself.
That's decent. that's fine by itself. And you can keep doing it. Like honestly, pretty decent. That's not bad.
You're probably gonna get a lot of scry triggers out of that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Next up is the 3 blind mice. It's 2 and a white. Yeah, because it's the fairy tale set, right?
Of course, yeah. We had to hit those eventually.
Yeah. So with this set, what I heard in the lore is it's like the outer like forest of it. So it's like the forest of Eldraine. So it's the fairy tales mixed with like a King Arthur's story mixed with like wilderness of Eldraine. So it's a lot of fairies and rogues and stuff.
Interesting. Okay, that's
kind of fairies cool. And rabbits and stuff. So 3 blind mice is 2 and a white for a saga. So we got new sagas, which is that's good for Tom Bombadil. And
Tom Bombadil's getting more fuel.
All right, so the chapter 1 is you create a 1/1 white mouse creature token. Chapter 2, create a token that's a copy of a token you control. Chapter 3 is the same thing. And chapter 4 is all creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn.
Well, okay, so you get a dude, and then
so at minimum by itself you get a dude and then 2 more dudes, so you have 3 1/1s
twice basically.
Yeah, because you copy it twice, so you have 3 1/1s and then all of your creatures get +1/+1 vigilance for a swing.
Yeah, it's too bad it's only 1 swing, but I mean it's only 3 mana though, so that's not terrible, I guess.
Yeah, plus if you have any other token out that's better than a 1/1, you just copy that.
Right, which I would assume you're playing this in some kind of creature-based deck, token deck, aggro deck of some kind, weenie deck, whatever. Yeah, this could be pretty powerful with that if you have the board set up, which it would take some setup, and you have to make sure you time it right, and they have 4 turns to destroy it. Like that's kind of a long timer, so it could backfire, but. If you get it off,
but I mean, like worst case, like if just playing this, right? Like 3 mana for 3 1/1s, that's like 1 for 1/1's a solid. That's a solid card.
That's not bad, yeah. Alrighty, next up we have Virtue of Loyalty. It is 3 white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Untap those creatures. And then the enchantment also has an adventure spell on it called Ardenvale Fealty, which is 1 and a white for an instant. And it has create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance.
There you go. If you have one of those, you're getting 2/2s with the 3 blind mice.
Yeah, exactly. Like that synergizes really nice.
But this enchantment seems bonkers, right?
Yeah, this is real good, yeah.
At your end step, you're buffing everything 1/1 and untapping them all.
Yeah, my God.
That means you can swing all out and then still be able to block, but they're bigger when on the next block.
Right.
That's insane.
You got to remember, like, one of the best cards that does, granted it doesn't untap your creatures, but like that buffs your global board. Like there's not a ton of cards that do that. And it's like the best one I can think of is Gavany Township, and it costs 4 each time to buff them. Whereas this, you just pay 5 once, and then it just happens every end step. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's the
the
Cathar's Crusade, which also costs 5, and that's like when you cast a creature, every creature gets a 1/1.
But it still has like a trigger you have to do.
Right.
Whereas, this does
it at your end step, which is nuts.
Yeah, that's really good, and the spell is just cake on, honestly.
Yeah, so this is going to go in every 1/1 counter deck. It's going to go in every like token deck or go wide deck. Anything that just wants to be able to untap their creatures every turn could play this.
Yeah, it's a white Seaborn Muse that also buffs your stuff. Like,
yeah,
pretty good.
Next up, we got the Werefox Bodyguard. It is 1 white for an Elf Fox Knight.
It's a
It's
lot
a
of
2/2
okay.
with Flash. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to one other target non-fox creature until Werefox leaves the battlefield. And you can pay 1 and a white, sacrifice it to gain 2 life.
Okay.
So 3
That's
mana,
very
flash in like an O-ring, basically. It's
yeah.
until it, well, it's a creature. O-ring on a creature until
So
it dies.
non-fox, that's probably gonna hit most things because unless you're playing someone who has a ton of Kamigawa stuff or something, like there's not that
Yeah,
many
or
of
if
them.
there's a bunch of foxes in the set, but
Yeah, I mean there might be some in the set too because we haven't seen them yet. So that's this is literally an O-ring, same cost, but it's a 2/2, and it has. Wait, does the O-ring have flash? I can't remember.
no, it doesn't.
No, yeah, it's just an enchantment. Sacrifice for 2 life. That's fine. I mean, I don't know how often you're gonna do that, but
I mean, and even if you have no targets, right, you could flash this in as a 2/2 block and then sacrifice it for 2 life if you have 5
right,
mana.
that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is all the keywords on this. There's a lot of keywords, so this works in a lot of different tribals. So that's also
Right.
kind of interesting too. So, yeah, I mean, it's a nice versatile card. So yeah. So that's white. Honestly, white's got some pretty good stuff in it.
White's got a
Really,
lot
really
of
good.
good stuff for token decks, I feel.
Yeah, tokens or enchantment based stuff. That's kind of the two things it looks like. So pretty awesome. All right, so now we are on to blue. So yeah, it's my turn. That's right. Okay. So Asinine Antics is our first blue card. It is 2 blue for a sorcery. You may cast Asinine Antics as though it had flash if you pay 2 extra to cast it. For each creature your opponents control, create a cursed roll token attached to that creature. So the cursed roll is enchanted creature is a 1/1. So
Yeah,
that's a
so 4 mana sorcery, make all of your opponent's creatures 1/1s, or you can 6 mana instant it to do that.
yeah. Which if they're like swinging with the team or something, then all of a sudden they got 1/1s.
Yeah, I think there's an enchantment for less mana that's black that just makes them 1/1s, but or maybe it's
Yeah,
white.
there's a
But
couple things that make things base power and toughness like 1 or 2 or something
but
like that.
it is interesting because like it also would knock off all of the rolls the opponent has put on their stuff.
Yeah, like that's the real thing right there. So yeah, if they got like a really big buff team, like not only are they PT 1/1, they also lose whatever buffs they might have had based on rolls. So that's definitely interesting.
Love to see the format to see how good this is, but I feel like this is one
Yeah,
of those ones where um, you might play it in a blue deck if you just need another like thing for
yeah,
when they like swing at you all or something. But otherwise, you could just play
yeah,
like Aetherize or something.
yeah. Like it's good for limited for sure. It's a good way to stop their team. Have to see
Um,
how it works in other like formats.
Next up, we got the Elusive Otter, which is 1 blue for a 1/1 creature otter with prowess, and
Ooh,
creatures
okay.
with power less than Elusive Otter can't block it. So if you prowess it up a lot, it can't block it. And then
Yep. I,
its adventure is a green and X for a sorcery to distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control.
okay,
So
so
it's
we got
like
some.
Thrive.
Yeah. Some Simic combinations here. Is always interesting.
So this is kind of good because early game you just throw this down as 1 for a 1/1 with prowess, right? And you're probably
Yeah.
going to get a bunch with it. And then late game you're just like, okay, pump all my mana into it to put a bunch of 1/1 counters or something, and then I have a 1 drop left over after.
Yeah, like, that's pretty good. And then you just swing with a big dude that they can't block. Like it's not bad for sure. And yeah, it's cheap. It's only 1 for both things technically. I mean, obviously you pay X for however many you want, I guess. But yeah, interesting card. Next we have Extraordinary Journey. It is XX blue for an enchantment. When Extraordinary Journey enters the battlefield, exile up to X target creatures for each of those cards. Its owner may play it for as long as it remains exiled. Whenever one or more non-token creatures enter the battlefield, if one or more of them enter from exiled or was cast from exile, you draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn.
So you put this out, say you pay, what does that
Like,
be? 2, 4, 6 mana.
6 or something.
Exile
Yeah.
2 of their creatures. They can recast them, but when they do, you draw a card.
Right. So it's like a worse heuristic study, kind of, but not really. I don't know.
It's kind of like a bounce spell, really.
Yeah, with a bounce effect.
It's more like a bounce spell that you could bounce, like, because if you pay, so it's kind of like a 4 mana bounce a creature, draw a card when they play it again.
Right.
But it does trigger if they ever cast anything from exile.
Right, which is great for adventure cards.
Right.
In this set. Or if they, there's like a wish deck or something like that.
Yeah,
whatever.
so like if they go on an adventure and then they cast the creature from exile, you'll still draw a card off this.
Yeah.
So you could just 2 mana draw a card whenever they cast an adventure creature. It's pretty good.
Yep, so this could be like a sideboard card for like if someone's playing a really heavy adventure deck that this could be good.
Or for constructed commander, if they're playing like the Prosper deck where all they do is cast stuff from exile.
Right. Yeah. It's really good for that.
Yeah. Or like if they're playing a Foretell deck, because then they cast from exile as well. So.
Yeah. There's definitely some synergies for it, but it's a little niche.
Next up, we got the Fairy Slumber Party. It's 4 blue for a sorcery. Return all creatures to their owner's hands. For each opponent who controlled a creature returned this way, you create 2 1/1 blue fairy creature tokens with flying, and this creature can block only creatures with flying.
Okay.
So it's kind of like Upheaval minus you keep your lands. Yeah. What's the one that only returns creatures? Evacuation? It's like Evacuation, but you get 2 fairies.
It costs like 1 more, I think, which...
Yeah.
It's not bad.
So it costs 1 more, but you get 2 fairies. But in Commander,
you get a lot more.
You could get 6 fairies.
Yeah. So that's honestly pretty decent right there. That's a decent return. So then you got, basically a board full of dudes. So that's not,
it's
not
pretty
bad
good because like if you're bouncing the board and you leave something behind, especially with flying, you can at least get in with them next turn.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Could be good in Commander in the right kind of deck. Definitely. Next up we have Farsight Ritual. It is 2 blue for an instant. It has Bargain. You may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast the spell. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. If this spell was bargained, look at the top 8 cards of your library instead. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention Bargain at the beginning. It's basically an ability where you have to sacrifice artifact, enchantment, or token to get a better effect on the card.
Yeah, so looking at the top 8 is pretty decent for 4.
So go to the top 8 and put 1 in your hand, or 2 in your hand.
2 in your hand, yeah.
So what card is it that does that right now? Dig? Is Dig 3 time 8 mana?
Dig 3 time is something like that, yep.
So Dig is like look at 7 and put 2 in your hand. So this is look at 8, put 2 in your hand for 4 mana and sacrifice something.
Right. And how much is Dig's more? Dig's like 5 or 6, isn't it? What? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like 8 mana, I think too, but I think it has Delve or something.
Yes, it's got like one of those effects on it.
Otherwise, so if you don't bargain it, it's just look at the top 4.
Yep, and you still get 2, from what I can see. Or
look at the top 4 cards of your library.
It's just look at the top 4, I think.
No, look at the top 4. It's always put 2 of them in your hand, right? Because it's just if the spell was bargained, look at the 8 instead. And then it's put 2 of them into your hand. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Clause, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's how it
So
works.
that's
So it's
not,
at minimum, it's 4 mana, look at 4, put 2 in your hand. So it's still 4 mana,
that's
draw
like a
2.
Farseek. Is that what that does? If I remember right.
What? Farseeks are just
Or
for
or
land.
or or four C. I can't remember. It's like what are you
4C, I think, is scry 2, draw 2, but it's basically similar, yeah.
Yeah, it's a similar effect. So yeah, interesting card. If you bargain it, pretty decent
I
actually.
think it's really good if you bargain it. If you don't, it's still okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's basically a draw 2. Because you could hit 4 lands, but
Yeah, which would
at
suck.
least you
But
got 2 lands on the bottom then.
yeah, that's got him. You got him out of there.
Next up, we got the Horned Lock Whale, which is a 4 blue for a 6/6 whale creature with Flash, Ward 2, and it enters the battlefield tapped unless it's your turn. So if you play it on your opponent's turn with the Flash, it comes in tapped.
Yeah.
And then the adventure on it is Lagoon Breach, which is 1 and a blue for an instant. The owner of target attacking creature you don't control puts it on the top or bottom of their owner's library.
Okay.
So this is exactly what you want for any sort of like control deck, right? Because
it's very much.
it's
like
a 2 mana instant that bounces the creature to the top or bottom of their deck, which is a good effect. Okay.
Yeah, it's
and
really
then
good.
when you get to the 6 mana, you have a 6/6 to try and close out the game, which a lot of times control decks need that.
Yeah,
but this
they
is
need
both.
they need a bomb, and then it's literally it's a sticky bomb too because Ward 2 is very good. Anything above like Ward 1, I feel like is a very good effect.
And it's nice that it's flash too, because it's like you could hold up your 6 mana, and if they attack or something, you can cast your spell. If they don't, then you end turn, you flash this in, and then you can still attack on your next turn. So
exactly, yeah, it's a nice little cheeky 6/6 that you just swing with on your next turn. Not bad.
It looks like a giant horned whale. What is he fighting? Like a Pegasus or something? Or
Yeah, that's a pretty cool piece of art. Yeah,
it's cool artwork.
Yeah, I love the art. The art in this set's really good. There's some good. The foils in this are going to look good. Definitely. Can't wait to see that. All right. Our next card is Ingenious Prodigy. It is X and a blue for a 0/1 human wizard creature with Skulk. So that's, it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Ingenious Prodigy enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Ingenious Prodigy has 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove a +1/+1 counter from it. If you do, draw a card. Okay.
So you jam this in with all your mana as like a 5/5 for, I guess a 4/4 for 5 mana, right?
Yeah, or 4/5. Yeah.
Yeah, 4/5, and then you have a 4/5 to swing at them with, which is pretty big. So it doesn't matter if they can block it because it's pretty big. But then on your next turn, you slowly make it smaller to draw cards every turn until it becomes like a 1/2, and then you just keep swinging unblockable.
yeah, and then they can't block it. So that's.
And if for some reason they play like a 1/1, then you're like, okay, I'll just make it a 0/1 and draw my last card.
Yeah, by that point, it's done its job. Yeah, like it's not
like it's already gained you a few cards, and
it's
like realistically, you like even if you just play this for 2 mana, right, and you have a 1/2, it's unblockable, and then eventually it replaces itself.
Yeah, you just cantrip it. Not bad. Yeah, pretty nice little effect.
Next up, we got the Sleep Cursed Fairy, which is 1 blue for a 3/3 fairy, flying, Ward 2. Sleep Cursed Fairy enters the battlefield tapped with 3 stun counters on it. If it would become untapped, remove a stun counter from it instead. And it has pay 1 and a blue, untap it.
Okay.
So 1 mana 3/3 with flying and Ward 2.
Interesting. So then you can basically pay it down immediately to untap.
Yeah, so if you have 6 mana?
Yep.
8 mana? 9 mana? 6 mana? Well, 6 mana to remove all the stun counters, and then it would untap on your next turn.
Remove. So it'll be 7 if you want to play it right away and have it be on.
But I mean, realistically, you're probably just going to jam this for turn 1. and hope that they don't play anything for a couple turns. Then turn to you if you need to speed it up, you can, or you just wait on the fourth turn. You have a 3/3 flyer that you paid 1 mana for.
Yeah,
you just had to wait 3 turns. Like, it's almost like you had suspend 3.
Yeah, it's kind of like
one.
suspend, but not. But
except
still
for you
on
have a creature out that's a 3/3 flyer.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is better than it looks.
Yeah, I think so.
You could slowly dump the mana into it. Like
when it's stunned, it's not tapped, is it?
Well, it enters tapped with stun, but it's not tapped when it's stunned. No.
Okay.
But it enters tapped, every time you untap it, you remove a counter instead of untapping it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
you basically have to untap it, 3 times before it actually untaps.
It's in the wording. I got it.
Yeah.
So right. So it's just on the field, kind of chilling.
Yeah. So it's kind of if you play this turn 1, turn 4, you get to swing with the 3/3 flyer, basically.
Yeah.
Or turn 5, I guess.
Interesting. I mean, it is a fairy and a wizard, so like it does count toward those tribals if you have something that.
I think it's going to be decent in like control decks, because you could just jam this turn 1 and then you hold up Counterspell or something, and if they don't, then you just pay your 2 mana into removing a stun counter from it.
Yeah, because a lot of times in like control, where you just, if they don't do anything, you just kind of, your mana just doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, so. And it's like you just didn't do anything with your mana. Well, at least here you have something to do with it.
Here you're doing something with it at least. So yeah, that's interesting for sure. All right, next up we got Talion's Messenger. It is 2 and a blue for a 1/3 fairy noble creature with flying. Whenever you attack with 1 or more fairies, draw a card, then discard a card. When you discard a card this way, put a +1/+1 counter on target fairy you control. So we got some fairy synergy here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you can put it be on itself too.
Yep.
So by itself, it's 3 for a 1/3 flyer. Loot when you attack, and then put a 1/1 counter on it.
Yeah, not bad.
So this is going to be really good. This is not as good as Ledger Shredder, but in that range.
Yeah.
And I just thought of with the last card, the 1 mana 3/3. If you have that card where creatures can't enter with counters,
yeah,
then it's just a 1 mana 3/3.
Or you hex
mage
it
or stun counters.
Just remove.
Or if you hex mage it, or something like that.
I mean, there's ways to cheat around it.
So
that's always the fun thing about those.
But this here is a good 1/3 flyer that gets bigger, and if you have like a fairy tribal deck or typal deck, it gets bigger.
Yeah, and something like Bitter Blossom, of course, would be fantastic with a card like this, because you just keep making dudes.
And Bitter Blossom is one of the reprinted enchantments that you can get. So.
Well, we'll see that later. All right.
Next up, we got the Twinning Twins. It's 2 blue for a 4/4 fairy wizard with flying, vigilance, and ward 1. All these cheap flyers with ward is going to be annoying.
Not bad. Yeah, it's going to be in the ass.
All right, Swift Spiral is 1 and a white for an instant, is the adventure. Exile target non-token creature, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So it's like a flicker effect.
Flicker, yeah.
Or you just got a 4/4 for 4 with flying, vigilance, ward 1.
Yeah, not bad. Really, honestly, very well standard. Yeah. And a nice cheeky little flicker effect, so that's cute. Like, it is one more than like Cloud Shift. But yeah, like, it's nice to have that on the creature.
The funny thing is that Swift Spiral, if you use that on your opponents, they have the 1-drop fairy that came out with 3 stuns. If you use that on your opponents, it would reset back to 3 stun counters.
There's some synergy for you. That's a real good way to tilt your opponent right there.
So this is good in the mirror match of fairy decks.
Yep, real good for if they're playing that guy. Yeah, definitely. And of course, flickering is always uses for that. ETBs, all that good stuff. Like, always good. And then this is our final blue card. We have Virtue of Knowledge. It is 4 and a blue for an enchantment. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And then it also has an adventure spell called Vantress Visions, which is 1 and a blue for an instant. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy, so you can literally do it and then play it to do it again, or just to keep doing it.
Yeah, so this is bonkers in like the Yarick deck that doubles ETB triggers. So now this will, any trigger that's triggering that will trigger again.
Or like the new Elish Norn does that too, if I remember right.
Yes, the new Elish Norn also does that, I think.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that's ETB or just triggers.
It's ETB, I believe.
Okay.
And then
but this is specifically if something triggers. So this will like trigger landfall again because it's a permanent.
Right,
trigger.
Yeah.
You know, so this works kind of like how Yarick does, where it triggers anything that's of something entering the battlefield causing something to trigger.
Right.
So this, and obviously this is the same color, so if you have that commander deck, you would want to put this in there. It's another.
Yep, this is going to be a perfect addition to that deck.
But so far, the Virtue of White was really good. The Virtue of Blue is really good.
Is also very good.
So
we'll see how the other ones are good. All right, Corey Brown, your favorite color?
Okay, so on to black here. We have the only Planeswalker in the set because, you know, a lot of them lost their Sparks. Yeah, so you'll see some of them as legendary creatures. But so here's Ashiok. He's mono black this time. The Wicked Manipulator. It's 3 black for legendary Planeswalker Ashiok with 5 loyalty. If you would pay life while your library has at least that many cards in it, exile that many cards from the top of your library instead. +1, okay. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, exile one of them, and put the other one into your hand. -2, create 2 1/1 black nightmare creature tokens with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if a card was put into exile this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. -7, target player exiles the top X cards of their library, where X is the total mana value of cards you own in exile. Oh my god.
Wow. Okay, this could be a game winner.
Okay, so if you ever have to pay life on a card, so if you play like, you know, pay 2 life, draw a card.
Yeah.
You're just exiling cards. Okay. You worst case by itself, you +1, put 1 card to exile, 1 in your hand every single turn, basically, or for 2 turns. And the third turn, you -7 to dome them for the mana cost of those 3 cards or 2 cards you just put in exile.
Yeah, that's insane.
So if it's like good, I mean that probably wouldn't kill them, so you might want to do it a couple more times. Plus, it can protect itself if you need the tokens.
But if you're playing
so if you -2 and get the 2 1/1s, on the next turn you make them both 2/2s and draw a card, basically.
Right. So if you're playing something like, you know, like a wheel deck or a windfall deck or you know, Nekuzar deck, you know, anything like that, like this could be real good for that.
Well, anything that makes you pay life for. It's bonkers with Keurig.
Yeah.
The Commander Keurig, where you can just pay life instead of black pips. Because it's just like, I'm not even paying life, I'm just exiling cards off the top of my deck.
Yeah, or if you're playing something with like a lot of what's that the symbol that you pay 2 instead of paying
the Phyrexian. That's what I was saying. Keurig makes all of your symbols that.
Right.
And or it's also really good with like greed. It's just instead of paying 2 life, it's just exile 2 cards at the top and draw a card.
Not bad. That's pretty good.
And it's nice that it says if there's at least that many. So like if your library gets down to like 3 or 4 cards, then you don't have to do it.
You won't do it.
Yeah.
You won't kill yourself.
Right.
Because that's
so you can't like mill yourself all the way out with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like if you do have something like that, like if you have a way, you know, +1 this, +1 this, and then you have some card where you could pay a bunch of life, you could just kill them with the -7.
Exactly. Yeah. That could be a game winner. So yeah, that's real interesting for sure.
I think this is gonna be bonkers and constructed because you're just gonna build in ways to pay a bunch of life.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's black. I mean, That's the whole point of black, is paying life usually.
Yep.
So
Life's a resource, and now your life is the top cards of your library instead.
yeah, and then you just fling them at them basically at when you -7. So
Yep.
that's pretty awesome.
I mean, plus
Right.
if you -2, you get the 1/1s, and then you play something like Dreed. Every single time you do the exile 2 draw a card, you're giving them 2 +1 counters.
Right. So
Or
then
no,
you're
oh no,
also
it's beginning of combat. Okay, so just one 1/1 counter every turn is what it can get.
okay.
Max, but it's still
That's
really good.
fine. Yeah.
So it's basically like you -2, and then every time you +1, they're going to get bigger. So
Yeah. So it's an interesting little other side effect of it. But I feel like most decks are going to be using the top effect and the alt.
yeah, you're going to basically use the top effect and then try and proliferate this up to like the 7 to just win.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if this is like a black-green deck and you have like doubling season or something, this comes in with the 10 counters.
Yeah.
So then you just activate greed a bunch of times or something, and then you pay -7 and just win the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, it's like 3-card win the game combo basically.
Yeah, and that can go real fast if it's set up right. All right, moving on. Next we got Beseech the Mirror. It is 1 black for a sorcery with bargain. So that's sacrifice artifact enchantment. Search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. If this spell was bargain, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. If that spell's mana value is 4 or less, put the exiled card into your hand if it wasn't cast this way.
So 4 mana tutor for a card, or 4 mana bargain, cast something that's 4 or less for free.
Right. So that's not bad.
No, it's interesting. It's like Beseech the Mirror, and it's like the queen looking in the mirror, and the other Beseech card is Beseech the Queen that also searches for a card.
Right, but that was like you pay 3 if you're playing back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting little effect how that works.
That's a pretty cool card.
Yeah.
Next up is the Cruel. What is that? Somnophage?
Yeah, Somnophage, I believe.
Yeah. So 1 and a black for a Nightmare. It's a star, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So like 2 mana Necroglyph guy.
Yep.
And then its adventure is Can't Wake Up, 1 and a blue. For a sorcery, target player mills 4 cards.
Okay.
So make a mill and then play this, and hopefully they mill the creature.
And then it gets bigger.
Mm-hmm. Or late game, there's probably a bunch of stuff in the graveyard.
Right, you just play it.
2-drop.
Yeah, and making the mills always, that can always screw up with their, especially if they tutored, if they, they're like playing top or something, so they throw something, they're trying to organize what they're doing.
Yeah, and even if your end goal is not to mill them, you could just mill yourself too, because it's all graveyard. So,
and of course it's black,
especially if you're like a reanimator deck or something.
Want to reanimate something? That's how you do it. All right, so that's an interesting card. Next up, we have Devouring Sugar Maw. It is 2 black for a 6/6 horror creature. It has menace and trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. If you don't, tap Devouring Sugar Maw. Then it has an adventure spell on it called Have for Dinner, which is 1 and a white for an instant. Create a 1/1 white human creature token and a food token.
So you're basically giving the Sugar Maw its dinner for 2 turns by doing that.
You're feeding the beast.
Feeding the Sugar Maw so it can attack. Okay, so you had me right away when you were like 4 mana, 6/6 menace trample. It's like, yes.
Ooh,
and then it's like, oh, you have to sack something or it gets tapped. Darn it. Because that's like a lot of the 4 mana things. It's interesting though because you get to choose. It's not like your opponent has to choose or anything. So,
right.
And if you do play the Have for Dinner first, you're going to get to swing with us twice at least.
Yeah, like that's not bad.
And it's a menace trampler, so they're probably not going to be able to block it. Like you might get him for 12 before.
Pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool card. I like that.
I think it's going to be good in limited.
Yeah, it'll be this will be a bomb in limited for sure. It'll be real hard for them to deal with if you set it up with, especially with that adventure instant on it.
Next up, we got Gumdrop Poisoner. It's 2 and a black for a 3/2 human warlock with lifelink. When Gumdrop Poisoner enters the battlefield, up to one target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. And its adventure is a 1 mana black instant called Tempt with Treats. It's an adventure, and you create a food token. So you make yourself some treats, sack up to gain some life, play the Poisoner, and just thing -3/-3.
Yep, then probably kill something, hopefully. Not bad. And then it itself also has lifelinks, so that's also cute.
Yes, you could also, well, I guess you get, if you have 2 of them, you could attack with it and then give something -3/-3.
Yep. Or if you have a way to flicker it, you can always mess with that. With the
ETB.
So,
flicker it, yep.
Yeah. So yeah, very, interesting, versatile, card. Next we have Lich Knight's Conquest. It is 4 and a black for a sorcery. Sacrifice any number of artifacts, enchantments, and or tokens. Return that many creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you just bring them back. Get rid of your garbage, bring back the good stuff.
Yeah, but for this to be good, you need at least 2, right?
What was that? Sorry.
You need at least 2 artifacts or enchantments or tokens.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Like 5 mana, bring 1 thing back is like Rise from the Grave, whatever.
Which
it's a
is
medium
whatever.
card.
Yeah.
So if you need at least 2 things probably to switch with creatures in your graveyard for this to be good.
If you have like clues or a bunch of food tokens or something, though, I mean, hey,
yep,
that could be
good. Or just a bunch
fodder.
of fairy tokens or something.
Or yeah, like you have Bitter Blossom in play, you just sack them all out.
Mm-hmm.
You've been like, dumping, entombing things or, using that planeswalker or whatever to get rid of stuff and then just
yep.
I'll come back.
So yeah, I think it's better. It's definitely going to be better and constructed.
Yeah, definitely. Probably be pretty hard to pull off in limited, for sure.
Next up, we got Lord Skitter's Blessing. It is a 1 and a black for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create a Wicked Roll token attached to target creature you control. So enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and when this aura is put into a graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. Okay. And at the beginning of your draw step, if you control an enchanted creature, you lose 1 life and draw an additional card.
Okay, so that's just you.
Yeah. So it's basically a 2 mana Phyrexian Arena as long as your creature stays in play. And if they kill that, then they lose a life.
Yeah. So it's
pretty good.
Losing 1 life isn't the end of the world, but yeah, like that's Phyrexian Arena is a good card, so it's kind of what this is, more or less.
Yeah, it's like Phyrexian Arena, but they can stop it by blowing up the creature until you get another enchanted creature.
Right. Which, if you're playing, an enchantment deck, then that wouldn't be too hard to do. So, yeah, that's an interesting card. Next we have Lord Skitter's Sewer King. It is 2 and a black for a 3/3 legendary rat noble creature. Whenever another rat enters the battlefield under your control, exile up to 1 target card from an opponent's graveyard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block.
All right, so we got rat that makes a bunch of rat tokens. It's kind of like black Rabble Master here.
Yeah, basically.
The rat don't have haste and it can't block, but you get to exile a bunch of cards from their graveyard. So if they have any sort of graveyard shenanigans going on, you can exile it when you make the rats. Yeah, that's pretty good for a 3-drop.
Yeah, that's not
it's a 3/3 that makes 1/1s every turn.
Right. Just a baby maker.
Go wrong there.
Yeah, always good to flood the board.
Next up, we got the Malevolent Witch Kite.
Mm-hmm.
4 black for a 5/4 Dragon Warlock.
Wow. That's a combo.
That's flying. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of artifacts, enchantments, or tokens, and then draw that many cards.
Okay.
So 6 mana, 5/4 flying, sack all the stuff you don't want to draw cards for them. That's pretty good.
You're like if you have clues or something, you're literally drawing cards for free.
Yeah.
Like that's not bad. Or your food tokens, just get rid of them. Draw cards.
Yeah.
It's all fodder. So yeah, that's pretty nice.
Also good with Bitter Blossom. You just like devour them for cards.
It's basically you're getting rid of your fairies, you're getting cards instead. So yeah, pretty good. Next up we have Rankle's Prank. It is 2 black for a sorcery. Choose one or more. Each player discards 2 cards. Each player loses 4 life. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures. So you can do all 3 if you wish.
Yeah, so it's similar to like actual Rankle, which does the discard. Each player discards a card. Each player sacks a creature, or each player draws a card, loses a life. So here you can make everyone lose 4, make them discard 2, make them sack creatures, and obviously you just choose the ones that are beneficial for you.
Yeah. So
if you have like no other cards in your hand, okay, we're all discarding.
Yeah.
You know, if they're at 4, or like if they're at lower life, we each lose 4. You know,
yeah.
If they have 2 creatures, you don't. We each sack 2.
Yep. Or you can do all of them if you really want to.
Yep. I think that's a pretty good card.
Yeah, it's not bad. A real good way to disrupt the game.
It's definitely versatile. I think you want at least 2 of the modes to be good at the point when you cast it.
Yeah. I feel like most times two of the modes
because like 4 mana discard 2 is crap.
No, that's awful. Yeah. Like, play Mind Funeral or something. That's way better.
Mm-hmm. But each player sacks 2 creatures is pretty good.
That's not bad for 4. Yeah, that's basically
same with the lose 4.
That's like literally the cost of 2 edicts. So like that works out. And then especially if you're like playing Commander where you have 4 opponents, then that really pays off.
Yep.
So. Yeah, that's not bad.
Next up, we got the Specter of Mortality. It's 3 black for a 3/3 Specter with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile 1 or more creature cards from your graveyard. When you do, each other creature gets a -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards exiled this way.
Okay.
So it comes in, you exile some stuff from your graveyard, and then make everything else except for this die.
Right. That's pretty sick.
And you're left with a 3/3 flyer.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you want, right?
Artwork's really cool on that.
Yeah, that's a sick looking card. I'm sure that foil looks amazing. Yeah, pretty decent. Next up we have the Spiteful Hexmage. It is a black for a 3/2 human warlock creature. When Spiteful Hexmage enters the battlefield, create a cursed roll token attached to target creature you control. So, enchanted creature is a 1/1 again for that one.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you get a 3/2 for only 1 mana, but you have to make something else to control a 1/1. So if you have another 1/1, like whatever, just put it on that. If you play this turn 1, you're 1 for a 1/1, and if you have a way to get rid of the enchantment later.
Yeah, or you have another roll.
Like you have the thing where you have to sacrifice enchantments. You can just keep sacking these the bad rolls. So.
Yep. There's definitely ways to synergize that. And then you get a 3/2 plus your other creature back.
Next up, we got the Tangled Colony. It's 1 and a black for a 3/2 rat. Tangled Colony can't block. And when he dies, create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block, where X is the amount of damage dealt to it this turn.
Oh, wow.
So if you swing with it and they block it and kill it, you at least are going to get 2 rats back.
Yep, if not more, if they have a bigger creature. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. Not bad. So yeah, it basically keeps it going. Okay, next up we have The End. It is. That's quite the card. 2 black for an instant. This spell costs 2 less to cast if your life total is 5 or less. So you only cost 2 blacks then. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that permanent and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. So it's kind of like a worse surgical, is what it's looking like.
Yeah, basically, except for you exile something on the board.
Yeah.
And if it's towards the end of the game, it only costs 2 mana.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad.
I mean, 2 mana exile, and then, like, I doubt they would have the same card in their hand. Like, unless the destructed, they might, but.
I mean, it's possible.
Like, whatever. It's still exiling it, so they can't, like, play that again. If it's something good you're getting rid of, and then they just replace it with something else. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is pretty good removal.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, especially if you're low life, that's really good.
I don't really care for it for 4 mana, exile something and stuff from their deck. I mean, that's still okay, but like it's better if you're at 5 or less life.
Way better if you're at 2. And hey, you're playing black. It's very possible for you to be at 5 life or less. So, yep.
Yep. Next up, we got the black virtue, the virtue of persistence. It is 5 black, so 7 mana for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And its adventure is Lock-Throwing Scorn, 1 and a black. For target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn, and you gain 2 life.
That's not bad for 2 mana.
So it's like sorcery speed last gasp, but you gain 2 life. And then later in the game, you have a 7-drop that just brings a creature back from the best creature in any graveyard back every turn.
Yeah. So it's literally a rise from the grave every turn. That's pretty good.
Basically.
Like not bad at all right there.
Yeah, or there's a white, or the white creature does that too, with a Rhea Dawnbringer.
Right, yeah, Rhea, yeah.
So it's like that too, but it's enchantment.
Like a cheaper Rhea.
But it's really good that there's a removal spell on the left side.
Yeah.
Like on the adventure side, which is like you'll just play that, and then if you ever hit 7 mana, you get to play this thing that's probably going to win you the game.
Exactly. Like if you get this
especially in like limited. Good. But if you don't get to 7 mana, it's like whatever, you still had a 2 mana removal spell.
Yeah, like a good
that killed something and gave you 2 life. So
yep. So you get more resources back. So that's black. Black's got some pretty nice stuff in it, looks like. So pretty cool. All right, we are on to red. Our first red card is Charming Scoundrel. It is 1 and a red for a 1/1 human rogue creature with haste. When Charming Scoundrel enters the battlefield, choose one. Discard a card, then draw a card. Create a treasure token, or create a Wicked Roll token attached to target creature you control.
So loot, create a treasure. There's a Wicked Roll, which I'm trying to remember what that one was.
I think that's the one that like it deals a damage and something happens or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
There's one that did a Wicked Roll.
Wasn't it one of those guys made it?
I can't remember.
Oh, right here. It's the enchant creature gets +1/+1, and when the creature's put into a graveyard, each opponent, or when the aura is put in a graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life.
Oh, that's that one. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Okay.
So buff something 1/1, which is good for aggro, and then when it dies, they lose life. It's good for aggro. Create treasure or loot, and it's a 1/1 haster for 2. It's pretty good.
Not bad. Not bad. Nice 2-drop.
Next up, we got the Decadent Dragon. 2 red for a 4/4 dragon with flying and trample. When it attacks, create a treasure token. And its adventure is Expensive Taste. 2 and a black for an instant. Exile the top 2 cards of target opponent's library face down. You may look at and play those cards for as long as they remain exiled.
Nice.
So obviously you still have to pay this correct color.
Yeah, you gotta pay the CMC or the mana cost.
They have to be playing the same as you, but
yeah.
And you could play them, so if they're lands, you could play it. But still, 4 for a 4/4 flying trample dragon that makes treasures on attack is good.
That is very good. Yes. Very, very good.
Like
Just
I kind of want this
flying
dragon
and
for my.
trample.
I kind of want this dragon for my 5-color dragon deck because it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
can play 2 cards off of anyone's deck because it's 5-color deck, and I
Yes.
have a 4/4 that makes treasures when it attacks.
Yeah. Seems good. Seems really good.
Seems like a good dragon.
Yeah. Yeah. Next we have Food Fight. It is 1 and a red for an enchantment. Artifacts you control have pay 2, sacrifice this artifact. It deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of permanents named Food Fight you control. Okay. That's interesting.
So okay, all your artifacts. So if you have 1 Food Fight out, you sacrifice an artifact to deal 1 damage. If you have 2 out, you sack an artifact to do 2, 3 to do 3, 4 to do 4. You ain't getting more than that unless you make copies of this somehow.
Which is, possible.
So this seems like a really good and constructed card. I don't know how good it is otherwise. Like 2 mana, deal 1. I mean, it's good to sack off your food tokens for 1 damage, I guess, instead of gaining life if you want.
If you want to be more aggro, it would work for that for sure.
You can also turn your treasures into deal damage.
Yeah.
So you got to keep paying 2, which sucks.
Yeah, you definitely have to have the mana for it, which is not so great.
I think this is looks better than it's gonna play card.
Yeah, I feel like on paper this looks okay, but like actually
playing it, you're probably gonna be like, oh, I don't want to pay 2 for that.
Yeah, there's better stuff you're probably gonna do for that mana.
Next up, we got Godric, the Cloaked Reveler. So 1 red for a 3/3 legendary creature, human noble with haste. Celebration. As long as 2 or more non-land permanents entered the battlefield under your control this turn, Godric becomes a dragon with base power and toughness 4/4 flying and pay a red dragons you control get +1/+1 until end of turn.
So literally fire breathing. Okay.
Yeah, fire breathing for all dragons.
For all dragons.
Yeah.
That's
so 3 mana 3/3 haster at the base, and if you play 2 things in a turn, it becomes a 4/4 flying fire breather.
Yeah. So not bad at all.
I don't think it's great, but it's not like bad either.
No.
It's like a mediocre card.
You definitely have to build around.
It's definitely better in a dragon tribal because you could buff your team with it.
Yeah, it's real good for tribal.
It's also decent, in limited is just like an aggro card.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 for 3/3.
Then you play like 2 1-drops, and then you can get over with a 4/4 with fire breathing.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Next we got Eldraine, the Pyro Hammer. It is 2 red for a 4/4 legendary human knight creature. Whenever an instant or sorcery spell you control that targets only a single creature deals damage to that creature, Eldraine deals that much damage to each opponent. So there are specific cards in red that only deal damage to like a creature or something like that. So yeah, I guess this kind of mitigates that.
Well, so it's whenever an instant or sorcery you control that targets only a single creature deals damage to it. So basically, if you like bolt a creature,
like if you bolt something or you burst
lightning.
lightning.
So basically, if you use your burn spells to kill creatures and only one, so you can't do any of the ones that like divide or hit 2 things.
Yeah.
Or like fireball
like
their face.
Lightning or whatever.
It basically is just like, okay, if I bolt your creature, then everyone takes 3. All opponents take 3.
Yeah. So in the commander, like in like a commander aggro deck, this could be okay, I guess.
Because it's like, your bolt, you could normally burn 1 person off. You just hit a creature.
Yeah, you're hitting everybody. Like that's pretty good. Because that's honestly the main problem with like a lot of burn decks and commander is you really have to target 1 person normally.
Right. Or if you
this allows you to hit the board.
If you like blaze, right? Like normally you would blaze someone's face for like 6 damage or whatever to kill him. Well, now you could just do it to a creature, and now everyone's taking 6.
Yeah, everyone takes 6. Like, that's not bad. So yeah, in the right kind of deck, this can be actually pretty decent.
Next up, we got Kellen, the Fey-Blooded. 2 and a red for a 2/2 legendary creature, human fairy with double strike. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 for each aura and equipment attached to Kellen, the Fey-Blooded. And its adventure is Birthright Boon. It is 1 and a white for a sorcery adventure. Search library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, put it to your hand, then shuffle. I feel like this should go in my equipment deck.
Yeah, real good for like a Nahiri deck. It's the right colors. It's white and red. So, yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
Boros equipment.
Yeah, Boros equipment deck. Next we have Ogre Chitterlord. It is 4 red for a 6/5 Ogre Warrior creature with Menace. Whenever Ogre Chitterlord enters the battlefield or attacks, create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block. Then, if you control 5 or more rats, each rat you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
Alright, enters the battlefield or attacks. So it's like another one of the Titans.
Yeah, it's like a Titan.
Create
basically.
2 rats that can't block. If you have 5 or more, they get buffed. Well, I'm combining this with the black rat and making a rat deck.
Yeah, this would work with that pretty well, actually. Because that's each you control gets plus. They all get buffed.
Yep.
So yeah, that's not a bad little synergy. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah. I mean, limited is going to be great, like because you're going to keep getting rats whenever you attack.
Oh yeah.
So
this is a bomb in limited. Like if you get this out, like this easily could win you the game if they can't deal with it.
Next up, we got Raging Battle Mouse. It is 1 and a red for a mouse. It's a 2/1. The second spell you cast each turn costs 1 less to cast. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
Okay, so it's another one of those like playing 2 things a turn and you get stuff.
Yeah,
so
but it's 2 for a 2/1, and it helps you cast your second spell at least.
Yeah, so that's a nice, that synergizes real nice actually. So that's pretty cool. So red, kind of frantic spell deck.
I mean, plus it's a Raging Battle Mouse you get to have on the board. Like you get to have a mouse coming at you. The artwork's cool.
They never
the
saw
mouse
it
just
coming.
like attacking everybody.
Yeah, it's freaking massive too. Like, oh my god. Yeah, that's a cool little card for sure. Next we have Realm Scorcher Hellkite. It is 4 red for a 4/6 dragon creature with Bargain, flying and haste. When Realm Scorcher Hellkite enters the battlefield, if it was Bargain, add 4 mana in any combination of colors. And then you can also pay 1 in a red. Realm Scorcher Hellkite deals 1 damage to any target.
So it's better than Sheevan Hellkite, right?
Yeah, that's like way better than Sheevan Hellkite.
Because it's literally Sheevan Hellkite, except for you could bargain and get 4 mana back.
Yeah, so you just right there you can deal 2 damage for free. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, or you just play your 6-drop, 4/6 flying haste, and then you got 4 mana back, so you have 4 mana to play another dragon.
So it literally costs 2.
Yeah, so it could cost 2 mana if you bargain it.
That's pretty good for 4/6 flying haste, 2 mana. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good card.
Seems good to me.
Not bad at all. Not bad.
Definitely helps with the double spell deck too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Give you extra mana.
Next up, we got the Red Cap Gutter Dweller. 2 red for a 3/3 Goblin Warrior with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens that can't block. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put a +1 counter on this, and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn.
Ooh, okay.
So you make 2 rats, and then on your upkeep, you can sacrifice one of them or any of your creatures to make this bigger and impulse draw.
Yep. Honestly, kind of all the things red does.
Yeah. Plus, it works well with the black rat cards. So
yeah, it's another rat.
The black-red rat deck's going to be a thing.
Yeah, so Rakdos rat deck apparently is going to be a thing. That's pretty cool. Yeah, interesting. Like it. Like to see stuff like, interesting little combinations like this. Next we have Rotisserie Elemental. It is a red for a 1/1 elemental. It has menace. Whenever Rotisserie Elemental deals combat damage to a player, put a skewer counter on Rotisserie Elemental, then you may sacrifice it. If you do, exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of skewer counters on Rotisserie Elemental. You may play those cards in this turn.
So impulse draws.
Yep.
Equal number of skewer counters.
For all the creature.
Man, I was really hoping that it was going to give you like food tokens.
Yeah, I know.
Skewer, and it's a rotisserie.
So I was like, ooh, is this going to be a food generator? Like,
but
no.
yeah, I mean, it's still 1 for a 1/1 menace, right? So you're probably going to get in at least a couple times. And then you can impulse draw with it.
Yep.
It's not bad.
That's pretty decent, yeah. If you set this up, and that's the only problem is it is a 1/1, so it's very easy to kill.
So like eventually, if they have 2 creatures out, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, you're.
But I mean, if you're playing red and an aggro deck with this, you probably have Bolt or something to get rid of one of their blockers, exactly. Get in and draw.
Yep. So yeah, interesting card.
Next up, we got the Scalding Viper. It's 1 and a red for a 2/1 elemental snake with whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value 3 or less, Scalding Viper deals 1 damage to that player. And then Steam Clean is the blue adventure for 1 and a blue. It's a sorcery. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand.
All right, so we got a bounce.
You got a bounce or a hate on 3 CMC or less card.
Yeah, which
it's probably a good sideboard for against like Storm and Legacy.
Yeah, honestly, 3 is kind of the magic number in Legacy.
I mean, it's not as good as like Eidolon, but like you could play this.
Obviously, yeah. But it could be a good sideboard for very specific things, possibly. The bounce spell in it is also nice, definitely. Next up, we have Song of Toten's Tons. It is X and a red for a sorcery. Create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. So yet another Rakdos rat card right here.
Yeah, but this one could be a game finisher, right? Like, I mean, if you have like 8-9 mana, okay, make a bunch of 1/1s that swing.
Yeah,
with haste, especially if they're at like lower life total already because you're an aggro deck.
Yeah, you just take them out. All right, the last one.
Yeah, the last one is the red Virtue of Courage. 3 red for an enchantment. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you may exile that many cards from the top of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So all of your burn spells are going to have Impulse Draw attached to them. And then the adventure is Embereth Blaze. It is 1 and a red for an instant that deals 2 damage to any target.
Alrighty.
So you get a 2 mana shock, and then you get Impulse Draw on all of your burn spells.
Not bad, not bad.
As long as you hit them in the face.
Right. All right. Good. So, yeah, and again, not,
So far, like, this is still the weakest of the virtues, but it's also, like, the easiest one
it's
to
still
play.
Not bad, though. Yeah. Like, it only costs 5, and the adventure is only 2, so, like, that's not too bad. And it's still stuff that you want to do in red. That's the other thing. So, yeah, it's not bad. So that's red. I mean, again, I feel like it's kind of the weaker color, which has been kind of how red's been lately, unfortunately. But
it did have some nice aggro stuff. So if you're playing a red aggro deck, it could be all right.
Yeah, and then also that kind of Rakdos rat synergy stuff they have going on is kind of interesting too. So like to see stuff like that. All right, we are on to green. Our first green card is Blossoming Tortoise. It is 2 green for a 3/3 turtle creature. Whenever Blossoming Tortoise enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 3 cards, then return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Activated abilities of lands you control cost 1 less to activate. Land creatures you can control get +1/+1. All right, so this is like a full-on land synergy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, full-on land synergy. If you have any sort of activated ability on your land, it costs one less. And if you have like Nisa or something that turns your lands into creatures, they get buffed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oop, now they're bigger.
Yeah,
That's a nice card.
yeah, it's pretty good because it also triggers on attack too. So
Right, yeah,
it's like a Titan turtle.
yeah. It's a mini Titan basically.
Mm-hmm. Seems good to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up, we got Bramble Familiar. It is 1 and a green for a 2/2 elemental raccoon with tap at a green, or pay 1 and a green, discard a card, return it to its owner's hand. So you can save your mana dork from being killed.
Yep.
And then the adventure is actually 5 green, so 7 mana for a sorcery. Mills 7 cards, then put a creature, an enchantment, or land. All right, creature, enchantment, or land from among the mill cards out of the battlefield. So you get one thing for 7.
So it better be good.
So I feel like you're in constructed. That's like there's better cards than that. So you probably just play it as a mana dork.
I'd much rather I'd rather play like Tooth and Nail or something like that.
Yeah, but in limited, it's going to be draw early game. You have a mana dork.
Yeah.
Late game, you have a thing, and you can return it to your hand.
Yeah, and then you play.
So
it.
like you could, play it early game. Late game bounces to your hand. Pay the 7, get something for free. Play the 2 to play it again. Next turn, bounce to your hand. Do it again.
Right.
So
just keep going.
just keep looping it.
It
can loop itself, great. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But you're milling 7 cards every time, so
yeah, so that's pretty rough. Especially in limited, that's gonna really hurt quick. But yeah, that's kind of cool though. Interesting little card. All right, our next green card is Elvish Archivist. It is 1 and a green for a 0/1 elf artificer creature. Whenever 1 or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Elvish Archivist. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever 1 or more enchantments enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn.
So this is elf payoff for artifacts and enchantments.
Yep.
So that's good. And it's only a 2 mana. It sucks to 0/1 for 2, but it's still good.
Right, and you can only do it once a turn, which is but
yeah, but it's still like whatever, draw a card for an enchantment, get 2 counters from an artifact.
And the fact that it only costs 2 is not bad.
Yeah, because I mean, like if you play this for 2 mana and then play like a Sol Ring, you now have a 2 mana 2/3 that you played.
Right, I think that's pretty good.
And then later, if you play more mana rocks, it gets bigger, and if you play an enchantment, you get to draw a card.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's like a ability that's good that can be busted when not in check, but so they just made 2 good abilities that are checked. So
right. Yep. Pretty decent.
Next up, we got Feral Encounter. It is green, so 2 mana for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may exile a creature card from among them. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may cast the exile card this turn. At the beginning of the next combat phase this turn, target creature you control deals combat or deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature you don't control. Okay, so 2 mana, look at the top 5, exile a creature you can play this turn, and then you get a bite spell at the beginning of combat. It's not bad.
Not bad at all, yeah. Nice cheap card for that.
Yeah, especially if you get a card you can play on there.
Yeah. It's not bad.
I mean, worst case, you whiff, and you still get a bite spell for 2.
Yeah, which is good. Still fine, yeah.
So it can replace, I mean, it's like you have to play it that turn. So it pseudo replaces itself, but still a bite spell is good.
For sure, yep. Next we have Gruff Triplets. It is 3 green, green, green. So that's 3 greens, so 6 total. For a 3/3 Satyr Warrior creature with Trample. When Gruff Triplets enters the battlefield, it is not a token, or if it isn't a token, create 2 tokens that are copies of it. When Gruff Triplets dies, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to its power on each creature you control named Gruff Triplets. So this is just like copying itself and making itself bigger, basically.
Yeah, so it's 6 mana for 3 3/3s. And when it dies, you get
2 4/4s.
well, you have 2 6/6s, right? Because you're putting
Or yeah, it's
3
the
1/1 counters on both of them.
So
and
that's
the other
pretty.
one dies, you're putting 6, so you have a 12/1, 12/12.
Yeah, that's pretty
Trample.
good.
And
So
if you have a way to flicker this, you can make 2 more copies of it.
Yeah, or like Doubling Season or anything else that copy shit. Like, yeah, there's ways to cheese.
So it's definitely gonna get. It could definitely get out of hand once they start dying off. You just get bigger and bigger ones.
Like, especially if you're playing some kind of like Golgari, like sack outlet deck, and you just sack them off, sack them off, sack them off, or something like that, and they just get massive.
Next up, we got the Mosswood Dread Knight. It's cool artwork too, and a cool name.
Yeah, it's sick. I love it.
1 and a green for a 3/2 human knight with trample, and when Mosswood Dread Knight dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as the adventure until the end of your next turn. And then it has Dread Whispers as the adventure. For 1 and a black, you draw a card and lose a life. So you draw a card, lose a life, play this out as a 3/2 trampler, they kill it. Then you have to the end of your next turn to draw a card, lose life again, which then it's now on adventure, so you can play it again.
So you basically replay it. Yeah.
So you keep going back if you keep replaying it.
Yeah. That's really decent.
This is going to get you lots and lots of value.
Yeah, it really will. Then you just keep drawing those cards.
Plus the 3/2 trample that can, block them, and you can play the draw a card part again. Keep doing that.
I mean, 3/2, sure, it's gonna die, which is honestly kind of what you want, though. So,
right, yeah. And like if you're trading up against 3/3s or something,
exactly. So that's kind of what you're going for. So yeah, that's an interesting card. I like this. That can
I think it's a cool card. I think it's gonna be bonkers and limited.
Oh yeah. This is gonna be really good limited. That's gonna be really hard to deal with.
Yeah, like unless they have an exile spell. So
right, yeah, they literally have to exile it. Like that's the only way they're gonna get rid of it. Like without, or like you happen to run out of mana or something.
Like or you ran it out on turn 2 with green and not a black source, and then they kill it.
And then you're screwed.
Draw a swamp, but. Or you decide to play something else and not have this keep coming back. But I feel like it'd be beneficial to just keep playing this.
You just want to keep playing it, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it's like for. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's just an engine on its own. All right, next we got Questing Druid. It is 1 and a green for a 1/1 human druid creature. Whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a +1/+1 counter on Questing Druid. And then he has an adventure called Seek the Beast, which is 1 and a red for an instant. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until your next end step. You may play those cards.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
You can Impulse Draw as instant speed, and then if you play any spell that's not green, he gets bigger.
Yeah. So
he's good enough multicolor deck.
Whatever you Impulse Draw, like if you can play him, and then that'll hopefully buff them.
Mm-hmm. It's also cool artwork on this card.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, it looks so good.
Next up, we got Sentinel of Lost Lore. It is 1 green for a 3/4 Elf Knight. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1 or more. Return target card you own in exile that has an adventure to your hand. Put target card you don't own in exile that has an adventure on the bottom of its owner's library. Exile target player's graveyard. So you could take a card you have in an adventure and bring it back to your hand.
Yeah, that's cute.
Or if they exile one of your creatures that has an adventure, you can put it back. And if they adventure something, you can put it on the bottom of their library, so they can't play the other part. And that way, you can exile someone's graveyard.
You literally just relic, basically. Like, okay.
And it's a 3-mana 3/4.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Really good.
Yeah, it's a lot of versatility. We like to see it.
I mean, it's obviously the best in an adventure deck. It's really good in this format.
For this set,
like
for
this
sure.
Set,
yeah.
Very
good for standard.
Yeah, but it's good in the adventure deck too, if you like the commander deck. I think it's a Bant colors.
Yep. You definitely want to play it with other adventuring cards for it to like really be good. All right, next up we have a green saga. It is the Huntsman's Redemption. It is 2 and a green for a saga. Chapter 1, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Chapter 2, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, search your library for a creature or basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Chapter 3, up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. So it's literally 3 for a 3/3 right off the bat. That's not bad.
Yeah, and the first and last mode are the best. The middle mode is like, do I care about sacking something for a creature or land in my hand? Like,
yeah.
If I have a lot of mana and I'm searching for like Crater Hoof, sure. But at that point,
you better have enough to play it.
If I'm jamming this on turn 3, it's like, do I really want to sacrifice my 3/3 for something else? Like, I'll probably not do that. Unless I have like a token laying around with something else weaker.
Yeah. It's at least a May ability, so you don't have to do it.
Right.
Which is good. Because that would suck otherwise.
And then the last part is obviously 2 things are going to get 2/2 trample, so you're going to.
That's pretty good. Like your 3/3 is going to be a 5/5 right there, and then hopefully you have like a mana giver, or who knows,
anything else, to get in.
Literally anything. So yeah, that's not bad.
I think it's a pretty good card.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Thunderous Debut. 6 green, 8 mana.
A lot of mana.
Sorcery with bargain. Look at the top 20 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them. If the spell was bargained, put them onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put them into your hand and shuffle.
Okay, so it's like a tooth and nail-ish, but you don't search your entire library, you just search the top 20.
Yeah, but it's horrible if you don't bargain, right? Like, 8 mana, but 2 cards in your hand is trash.
That's horrible.
Okay, but if you bargain and get 2 into play, then it's a playable card.
It's pretty decent. Yeah.
So do not play this in a deck where you're never going to bargain it.
You 100% are bargaining this card. If not, you are far better off playing... You're far better off playing like Congregation at Dawn for 3. Not
in limited, you're probably going to hit your 2 best creatures, like, because it's half your deck.
Yeah. And also, in limited, hopefully you'll have like a food token to sack or something, or like a 1/1.
But again, in limited, you need to have like 2 things that are at least 4 drops to make this worth 8 mana. So
yeah, exactly. You better have bombs, otherwise this isn't going to do much for you. All right, next we have Virtue of Strength, the green virtue. It is 5 green for an enchantment. If you tap a basic land for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead. Oh my god.
So your basic tap for 3.
That's really good. Better Zendikar Resurgent, hello. And then we have the adventure is Garenbrig Growth, which is green for a sorcery. Return target creature or land card from your graveyard to the hand. So bring back your Cradle, bring back your big dude.
Yeah, kind of like a regrowth, except for you can get any card, but it only costs 1. And then, later in the game, all of your forests tap for 3.
Yeah. Okay.
So the red one is the worst of all of them,
by far.
Like but the red one's still good.
Really good. Oh
green
my god.
one's really good. The black one's really good. The
black one's really good too.
The blue one was really good.
Yeah,
So,
even the white one was really good too.
yeah, the white one
The
was
only
really
bad
good.
one was honestly.
Like red is the worst of them.
Yeah, by far. I mean, it was
The
still
rest you're not going
okay.
to want to see on the side against you.
Yeah, you're gonna be
Like the red one,
pretty
if someone
sad.
plays that, you're going to be like, oh, that sucks, but not like,
Yeah,
it's not like
whatever.
I'm going
Yeah,
to lose this game feeling.
yeah. If
But
you're tripling their mana, you're probably not in a good position.
right, if
Just
they play
saying.
this, they're going to start tripling their mana. You're going to lose on the next turn for
Dear
sure.
Lord, like you're gonna play Crater Hoof and God knows what else. Like
Yeah.
like yeah, that's insane. Oh my God! All right, last green card.
Oh, there's one more after the virtue?
There is one more. Yes.
Oh, the Wildwood Mentor. It is 2 and a green for a 1/1 tree folk. Whenever a token enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever it
Okay.
attacks, another target attacking creature gets +X/+X on a turn where X is Wildwood Mentor's power.
All
This
right.
seems good in
So
your wrist deck
yes,
too.
yeah,
Keep
yeah,
making
yes, it
tokens, this keeps
does.
getting bigger, and then when it attacks, it buffs something else.
Pretty good.
Seems good. It is only
Okay.
3 for a 1/1, so you got to play a couple tokens before it gets
Yeah,
out of
but
easy kill
in
range.
any kind of token deck, you're fine. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna care. So yeah, that's green. Green's busted like normal. Like okay. There's some really good cards in here.
Green has some really good cards. It also has some mediocre cards.
Yeah, I mean, not all of them are like insane. Like there's some that are whatever. But
They're kind of like either really good or just like meh.
yeah, they're
Whereas
either
like
like
I think
evil
like black, every card
play.
was playable, and same with like blue.
Blue, like every card was also playable. Yeah, yeah. Green's like either you're definitely gonna play the card or you're not.
Yeah.
Basically, is how that went. All right, we are on to multi. Our first multicolor card is Hilda of the Icy Crown. It is 2 and Azorius, or white and blue, for a 3/4 legendary human warlock creature. Whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, you may pay 1. When you do, choose one. Create a 4/4 white and blue elemental creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Or scry 2, then draw a card.
So it's a good card, but you need something
You need
that
a way to
taps
do it.
opponent's creatures to make
Yeah.
this work.
So
So
you
yeah,
gotta
this
play
is like you have to build around this card, or it's bad.
it does nothing, which is kind of sad that they didn't include a way to do that. But
Yeah.
if you do, like like maybe you splash in green and play glare or something, then sure, then you tap down their shit. You make
Right.
it
I mean, you could construct a
honest
build around
fun.
this easy, but like I'm saying, if you
Yeah,
draft around this, you really have to be looking.
yeah,
For
you gotta
cards
find
that
ways
stuff.
to tap stuff down. Otherwise, this does nothing.
It could be fun as a commander though. Like just play.
Oh
Like
yeah,
a
that's a
tappers.
great commander
Because you
for
could
sure.
play like the white mana guy, one drops that tap creatures down. So
Yep.
next up we got Will. So Will is back, but as a creature here. So Will, Scion of Peace, 1 blue or 1 white and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature human wizard with vigilance, and he has tap. Spells you cast this turn that are white and or blue cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. Activates this ability only as a sorcery.
Okay, so only sorcery spells. But yeah, if you're playing life
No,
game,
any spell, but you could just only activate his ability.
okay,
Sorcery. But yeah, you'd have to cast the.
it has to be on your turn though. Yeah. But yeah, for a life gain deck, that could be interesting.
Yeah, definitely could be. Gain
If you
some
gain
life.
10 somehow, then
You gain
you
if in sack of food, you gain 3 life. Now your next spell costs 3 less.
right.
So you're netting 1 mana if you sack a food, because a food is 2 mana, gain 3 life, netting 1 then.
Or you just find a way to gain 10 life and then you just play omniscience. Like
I mean, you still have to pay the blue pips, but yeah.
But yeah, so you pay like what 3? Like okay.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
pretty sure omniscience is in one of the enchantment slots.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Pretty sure
Nice.
it is.
Yeah, that's an interesting card. Another possible interesting deck to build around with that. So yeah, I like to see that. Next we have Likeness Looter. It is Demir, yeah, blue black. For a 1/1 fairy shapeshifter creature with flying, it has tap, draw a card, then discard a card. It has pay X. Likeness Looter becomes a copy of target creature card in your graveyard with mana value X. Except it has flying and this ability. Activate only as a sorcery.
Yeah, so you can turn it into anything in your graveyard.
That's pretty cool.
When you're done looting with it.
Yep. So
it'll be a flying version of anything in your graveyard.
Yeah, so if a flying freaking 5/5 or something,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, not bad at all.
Next up, we got Talion, the Kindly Lord. It is 2 blue-black for a 3/4 legendary creature, Fairy Noble, with flying. When it enters the battlefield, choose a number between 1 and 10. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with that mana value, power, or toughness equal to the number you chose, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So this seems like it's going to be really good in Legacy because you just choose one.
Choose 1 or 2.
Yeah, probably 1 or 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, they play Brainstorm, they play Bolt, they play that stuff. They're losing 2 life and I draw.
You lose 2, I draw.
Oh, you play Delver? Okay, you lose 2 life and I draw.
It's like, that's so good. That's so
you
good.
You played an Elvish Mystic, you lose 2 life and I draw.
Yeah, exactly. You draw a card, well, you lose 2 and then I draw a card as well. So there. Or I'm thinking Visionary, but similar thing. Yeah, I mean it does cost 4, so for Legacy that is a little on the higher end of the curve, but I mean, come on.
I still think it's really good, especially for constructed.
Yeah, this can be very good. Very, very, very good.
It's really going to be good, especially in game 2 when you're playing best of 3, because after game 1 you're going to know, okay, what was their average
what they're doing? Yeah.
What was their average power toughness? So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just that's a Legacy card right there, 100%. Next up we got Rowan, Scion of War. He has 1 in Rakdos, or black and red, for a 4/2 legendary human wizard creature with menace. He also has tap. Spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay, so I see a theme going on here.
Yeah, it's the opposite of Will.
The other
one. Rowan were the partnered planeswalkers.
Yeah, that's cool.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's definitely easier than the gain life because black pays life
black
already.
Likes to lose life a lot. So you're going to find a way to do it. You lose 10 life. Oh, no, I play my big, huge thing or something like a planeswalker. I play Ugin, whatever. Or no, sorry, it's got to be red and black. Never mind. But yeah, you play, something big that's Rakdos. Sure. That's pretty good.
Next up, we got Agatha of the Vile Cauldron. It is a red and a green for a 1/1 legendary creature, Human Warlock. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost X less to activate, where X is Agatha of the Vile Cauldron's power. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. And then 4 and red-green. Other creatures you control get +1/+1, trample, and haste until end of turn.
Not bad. Okay, so that's kind of like that land. I think that land does something like that, doesn't it? That the sculling pits or whatever the hell it's called, where you get trample.
Oh yeah, Scar Egg something or another. Yeah. Something like that. But yeah, I mean, so it's your activated abilities cost at least 1 less, which is kind of like a training ground, mini training grounds.
Yeah,
and. I mean, that makes herself cost 1 less.
Yeah, this works for her too, right? So that's
her thing costs 5 and not 6.
5 and Gruul. Yeah. And then if you find a way to buff her, you can make it just cost Gruul. Just 2 mana.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
Yeah, if you could pump that 2 mana into everything is 1/1 haste trample.
Oof. That's not bad.
Well, each activation after the first is going to make it cost less too because it's going to get bigger each time.
Right, yeah.
So the first one's 5, then it's 4, then it's 3, then it's 2, then it's 1.
Right. But then we've seen
or then it's 2, can't go less than 2.
Right, it's gotta be 2. But we've seen ways where if stuff in the other colors have buffed, so you'll find a way to buff her or something.
Yeah, and if you put like one of those auras on it, that makes it a
Three
+1/+1.
+1/+1 counters on it. Boom. Cost 2. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, next we got Yenna, Redtooth Regent. She is 2 in Selesnya, or green and white, for a 4/4 legendary creature elf noble. She has pay 2 and tap her. Choose target enchantment you control that doesn't have the same name as another permanent you control. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary. If this token is an aura, untap Yenna, Redtooth Regent, then scry 2. Activate only as a sorcery. All right, so like this is perfect for commander, right?
Well, perfect for commander. Also great in just anything you don't, because you have to. It's just control, so you can just copy every enchantment you have out basically for 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's an aura, you get to do it again.
Yeah, that's really good. Like, not bad at all.
And it's a 4/4/4. Seems sweet.
Yeah, like, that's a great card. It's really good. Well statted and everything.
Next up, we got, is that Iriti?
Arietta or something. Yeah,
Of the Charmed Apple. 1 white and a black for a 2/4 legendary creature human warlock. A lot of warlocks in the set.
Yeah, lots of warlocks.
Each creature you control is enchanted by an aura. Each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. And at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of auras you control. So basically, you want a bunch of cursed rolls on your opponent's stuff.
Tons of stuff, yep.
And then they can't attack you, and then you're going to gain a bunch of life, and they're going to lose a bunch of life until they die.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Really, really good for that, enchantment-based deck like that. Or roll-based deck.
It'd be sweet to build a commander with this, too, and just play a bunch of those auras that you normally wouldn't play, like enchanted creature gets -1/-1. Like, stuff like that. Just keep putting it on their stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you can't attack me, and you're going to lose a bunch of life. Sorry.
Yeah, she's good. She's really good. All right, next up we have The Apprentice's Folly. It is 2 and blue and red for a saga. It is chapters 1 and 2. Choose target non-token creature you control that doesn't have the same name as a token you control. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary. Is a reflection in addition to its other types, and has haste. And then chapter 3, sacrifice all reflections you control. So you get them for 2 turns and then they go away.
Yeah, so copy your 2 best things for a round, for a turn, 2 turns, whatever, and then sack them.
So not bad for 4. It's kind of like a better each.
Or you could just get the 2 copies and then blow this up yourself, and then
and then you keep them.
Yeah,
that's a way to do it.
Sacrifice this to a bargain effect.
Not bad.
Next up is Fonsbane's Troll. It's 2 black-green for a 4/4 troll. When it enters the battlefield, create a monster roll attached to it. Enchanted creature gets +1 and has trample. Pay 1, sacrifice an aura attached to him. It fights target creature you don't control. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Activate as a sorcery.
All right.
So it's basically 4 for 5/5 trample, and then you could pay 1 to make it back to a 4/4 and fight something.
Right. So if you have a way to make it bigger, then that can be pretty good. You just or you just take out their little annoying dudes in the back that they don't attack with. You can do that too.
Yeah, or if you put a bunch of other auras on this, you could just wipe their board basically for keep fighting.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. You don't have to tap it. So can you do that multiple times? Does fighting make them tap?
No, it doesn't. But he still has the damage on him from whatever you fought before.
Right. Yeah. So like
it's a 5/5, and you did a 2/2. You have to do another 2/2. Like.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting, definitely. Right, next we got the Goose Mother. It is X and Simic, or green and blue, for a 2/2 legendary bird hydra creature with flying. The Goose Mother enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When the Goose Mother enters the battlefield, create half X food tokens rounded up. Whenever the Goose Mother attacks, you may sacrifice a food. If you do, draw a card.
So the Mother Goose is really good.
Yeah, she's pretty powerful.
Kind of like a Hydroid Parasis, except for instead of gaining X life, drawing X cards, it's get X food or half X food tokens, draw a card when you sack foods.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
That's cool. That's a good card.
A bunch of cards. You make it big.
Look, it's never bad.
No, it's never bad, honestly.
Obviously, you want to pay at least 2 for X, so you just get 1 food.
Yeah, you got to pay at least something for sure.
I mean, because otherwise you might as well just play. I mean, because if you play 3, it's a 3/3 flyer. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
If you pay 4, 4/4 flyer,
with
make a food, and you could draw a card on an attack.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if you have a bunch of other ways to make foods, you could just play it as 2 for a 2/2 flyer, and when it attacks, sack a food to draw.
Yeah, you just get a ton of cards.
All right. Next up, we got Belluna Grand Squall. It is Teamer, which is green, blue, red for a 4/4 legendary creature, Giant Noble, with Trample. And permanent spells you cast that have an adventure cost 1 less to cast. Permanent spells that have permanent spells you cast that have an adventure cost 1 less. So anything that you play that has an adventure costs 1 less. All right, and then the adventure on it is Seek Thrills 2 and Teamer, so green, blue, red. For an instant, go on the adventure, mill 7 cards, then put all cards that have an adventure from among the milled cards into your hand.
Nice.
So it's really good in the adventure commander deck, or you could play this itself as the commander for an adventure deck.
It's very good. Yeah. This does work, man. If you're playing, anything.
I think the other adventure commander is Bant. So this way you could play Teamer, which means you have access to the Bone Crusher Giant, which is probably one of the best adventure cards.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, that's multicolored. That's the last one.
All right, so we got some artifacts, right?
Yep, we sure do. All right, our first artifact is Agatha's Soul Cauldron. It is 2 for a legendary artifact. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate abilities of creatures you control. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them have all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. And then you can tap it, exile target card from a graveyard. When a creature card is exiled this way, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
So you exile something from the graveyard, give something a +1/+1 counter, and then that becomes the activated ability of that.
Yep.
That's cool.
That's actually pretty sick. And it's a graveyard, so it can be any.
Yeah, so you exile their Scavenging Ooze, and now you have a creature that's a Scavenging Ooze with a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And if you're playing this in a +1/+1 counter deck, and you exile something, your whole board that has counters on it is going to have that ability of whatever you exile.
Yeah, that's quite good.
Seems good.
Yep.
Next up is Hildra's Crown of Winter. It is a 3 mana legendary artifact. It has pay 1, tap it, and tap target creature. This ability costs 1 less to activate during your turn. Okay, so during my turn, it costs 1 to do it on my opponent's turn. Or on my turn, it costs 0. On my opponent's turn, it costs 1. And then it has pay 3, sacrifice Hildra's Crown of Winter. Draw a card for each tapped creature your opponents control.
Nice. Okay.
So if they attack you all out or something, you get second to draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And it does say opponents, so if multiplayer commander, you can draw a whole lot with this.
Sure can. Yeah, they literally swing out with their team. You can just
or you just sleep them and then draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah, sleep. Oh god, yeah, that's really good. Like, I'm gonna draw like 10. Let's go. Just draw half your deck or something. Yeah, that can be real powerful, especially in Commander. Next up, we got Sear Ginger the Metal Ender, the Meal Ender.
Sir Ginger.
Yep. 3/1 for it's a legendary artifact creature that's a food knight. It's a 3/1. Sir Ginger the Meal Ender has trample, hexproof, and haste as long as an opponent controls a planeswalker. Whenever another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Sir Ginger and scry 1. Pay 2 and tap him, sacrifice him. You gain life equal to its power.
Yeah, so it's a 2-mana 3/1, and against planeswalkers, it's phenomenal because it gains trample.
Really good, yeah.
Even without that, whenever an artifact you control is put into a graveyard, so if you sack another food or something, this is going to get bigger, and you scry 1. And then if you decide to eat him as a food, you gain life equal to however big he is.
Yeah, he just gets big, and then you gain like a shit ton of life if you're a little low or something.
Yeah, like I love this card because of the flavor, because it's Sir Ginger, the Mealender.
Great flavor, yeah.
So it's like Gingerbread Man attack.
Yeah.
So I just like that. I love the artwork of this card. It's awesome.
It's so great. Oh man! All right, you got the last artifact.
All right, last one here is the Iron Crag. 2 mana for a legendary artifact. It taps for a waste, so taps for mana. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may have the Iron Crag become a legendary equipment artifact named Everflame Hero's Legacy. If you do, it gains Equip 3, and Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and loses all other abilities.
Okay. So if you have like a legendary creature that's a 1/1, you make him a 3/3 basically?
Well, no, it gets +3/+3, just loses any abilities on the card text.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah.
It's like a 6/6. I'm trying to think if there's like what is a legendary creature that has like a really bad downside.
There's got to be some.
There's got to be something that's got to be like 4 for a 6/6 flying trample that like you lose 5.
You
life
lose the game or something.
It's like, oh well, now it's 3 big.
Or yeah, what about Eater of Days? Is that legendary?
Well, that's a enter the battlefield trigger though.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't work.
So it wouldn't work. It has to be something that's like a upkeep trigger or something.
Right, or it's like a cumulative upkeep or something like that.
Or you could play it on like the. Well, does Echo? I don't know if Echo would still trigger. Echo might still trigger.
No, I don't think so because it loses the text. I'm assuming the keyword.
I'd have to look up the ruling for that, but
yeah, that'd be interesting to look into.
Like, but either way, it's a 2 mana rock that adds a colorless, so like you playing that in. Yeah, that's a good card. So
it's just fine in any like Eldrazi based thing where you need waste, for sure.
Or if you just want
I'd like to see, like, I feel like this could work with something very specific.
There's probably some card we're not thinking of that it works really well with, but.
So that's our artifacts. There's definitely some good stuff in here. The crown can be very good.
We got some lands, right?
Yeah, got a couple lands. Our first land is Restless Fortress. It is a white-black land. It enters battlefield tap. You can tap it to add white or black. You can pay 2 white-black. Restless Fortress becomes a 1/4 white and black nightmare creature until end of turn. It's still a land. Whenever it attacks, defending player loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Okay, so these are man lands. Cool. All right.
Yeah, that's a cool one, too. It's a 1/4 that they lose 2, you gain 2.
Yeah, that's a sick land. 4 to animate, not bad.
All right, and the next one is the Is It one. So it enters tap, adds blue and red. All of them are going to do that.
They're all the same.
And then the activated ability is pay a red and blue until end of turn. It becomes a 2/1 with, as long as it's your turn, this creature has first strike. It's still a land. And whenever it attacks, you scry 1.
Cool.
Which seems good in the Spells Matter decks.
Yes, very, very much what Is It wants, for sure. Next up, we have the Golgari one, which is Restless Cottage. It is you tap to add black and green, comes into play tapped. You can pay 2 black-green to animate it. It becomes a 4/4 black and green horror creature until end of turn. It's still a land. Whenever it attacks, create a food token and exile up to 1 target card from your graveyard.
This one seems really good too.
Yeah, that's
Make it a
quite
4/4 that makes a food and can exile
Yeah.
something.
That's
And
pretty
then we got the red-white one, the Boros one here. It just taps as red or white. You could pay 1 red-white. It becomes a 2/2 red-white ox creature until end of turn. When it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. That's pretty good too.
that's pretty decent. It's not too bad. And then finally we have the Simic one. It is Restless Vinestalk. Comes into play tap, add green or blue. Animate for 3 green blue until end of turn. It becomes a 5/5 green and blue plant creature with trample. It's still a land. Whenever it attacks, up to 1 other target creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. So that can be used against them or to buff you.
Yeah, so you could buff one of your weak dudes, or if they have a really big dude, it's now a 3/3 and
So 3/3. That's pretty cool. I like these man lands. These are pretty cool.
Yeah,
They got nice effects.
They have some good effects here. They're all. I mean, this one is a 5/5, and the green black one's a 4/4. Like it's pretty.
Like
good.
that's like literally like Colonnade basically. Like Colonnade was like the best man land ever created for the longest time because it had vigilance and flying, and it was a 5/5.
Right.
This, I mean, sure, this doesn't have vigilance and flying, but still, like it's still pretty decent. So yeah, these are pretty cool. I like these. Well, that's the set. That is everything.
Oh, what do you think? I think it's going to be cool.
This is gonna be a great set. I love Throne of Eldraine. I was really excited when I heard that we're gonna be going back to it. The art's amazing. The lore, flavor is amazing. And honestly, there's some good cards in here. So it's gonna be real fun to play.
I'm going to be playing a ton of early access, basically all day Thursday.
So check that out.
And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the pre-release. I'm probably going to play. I'm going to play at least 1 event, possibly 2 during the pre-release weekend. So
for sure. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We'll be posting all sorts of stuff on there, along with some stuff that you did with Josh, I believe, with Vintage.
Yeah, that's for a new video series that we teased the trailer over on TikTok. So you'll see that coming out. I don't know, probably about a week or so, because I kind of got a lot of stuff. I'm just schedule releasing, so right now I think we're through the end of the month. So
sweet.
So we did have a video come out every single day this month. So
yeah, that's the way to do it. Well, this is gonna be a great set, and we have a lot to look forward to.
Until next time.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.